Well, we're almost there, everyone. We're almost at the end of the event. So hopefully you guys are still all with us. We appreciate it genuinely. And for our very last presentation, we have our very own Michelle Goodwin, business analyst here at Miktysh, who will be showing you guys some really useful Microsoft Office features that help you manage, compare, collaborate, and share documents in place. So these are built directly into Microsoft Office. So this isn't anything to do with the Compliance Center. So once again, don't forget to click the Q&A tab in the top right-hand menu to ask Michelle questions, and she will get back to you at the end of her presentation in the Q&A portion. So I guess I'll just hand on over to Michelle to get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to the virtual event. My name is Michelle Goodwin and I'm with Miktysh. And what I wanted to go through with you today is some simple features that you may not have known are in Office that help you manage your information, help you handle it and collaborate on it in place, comparing information and sharing documents where they're saved. If you have a look at the description of what I had said I'd have a discussion about today, is trying to understand, is a document a draft? How do you identify that if the word draft isn't in the title? What's the version of the document that you worked on compared to someone else? Where's it saved? Are the documents the same? Showing you that you can actually compare information in Office to see if documents are similar or how different they may be when you find them. So questions like these are heard every day. These are simple things that I've found in Office that have helped me a lot, and they may help you a lot in managing your information as well. We'll jump in, we'll be opening a couple of documents, but we'll be doing some of the basic things in this Word document today. What I will tell you is that I'm showing most of the features in Word, and I will let you know whether it is available in PowerPoint or Excel as well, and if it is available, sometimes they're in a slightly different location, and I'll just let you know where that is as well. So let's jump into the first one. So these are some of the things that I'm going to go through with you today. You may know of some of these already. That's great. Hopefully I can give you some little tips that you didn't know were there before that will help you. So the first one is watermark. So watermark has been within Office and Word specifically for quite a while, but it got moved from where it used to be to somewhere else, and sometimes you actually forget that it's there. That's one of the things I do. I tend to forget that this cool feature is actually part of Word, and you can access that by up in the ribbon here. If you click on Design, and all the way on the right you have watermark. Now when I drop down watermark, what you'll see here is there are some pre-configured watermarks that are already there in Word, like confidential, do not copy, draft. You have the ability to either select one of these, draft one, which I'll do in a minute, or you can create a custom watermark. Now a custom watermark could be something like commercial in confidence or do not print, for instance. So you can customize a watermark to embed on your document. I've just clicked on draft, and as you can see, it's put the word draft right at the back as a watermark on my page. This is really good because you may have people who like to print things. I'll be honest, I do still sometimes like to print things. It's just maybe, the way I've been. Sometimes it's easier to read as well. Benefit of this is I will have the word draft in whatever I've printed, so wherever I go with it, it will identify that the document that I have is a draft document. But the other thing to have a look at is right in the top here, the words "Welcome to the virtual event." It doesn't have the word draft anywhere. And this goes to sort of naming conventions where name a document once, it's that name forever. You don't have a version 1, version 2, version 12, final, or second final in the titles. It's the name of the document, which is Welcome to the virtual event, and I have a watermark embedded in the document called draft. So it makes it a lot easier to start having that, name a document once mentality. It is hard, I'll give it that, but it also helps you identify things very easily. As soon as a document is open, it's got the word draft pasted across it as well. So it doesn't have to be visual in the title. You can come into watermark and hit remove watermark just the same way as you added it. So I can come in and remove it. So if this was now the document has gone through all the draft phases, you can take that watermark off or add another one in if you wanted to have one for final. I will let you know that this is not available in PowerPoint and Excel. So the watermark feature up the top here, you will not see it there. If you wanted to do that, you'd probably have to embed it yourself. So it's not a feature that's native to both of those products. Again, I'll say yet, because as we know, Microsoft does update things and it may eventually appear in those products as well. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you is SharePoint metadata. So being able to work in place in one location, and in this case we're going to use SharePoint as our example. We can have documents that reside in SharePoint that have metadata attached to it. So it may have something like business unit or some other identifiable piece of metadata that when information is put into that library or that space, you want that metadata to be completed. Whether it is mandatory metadata or if it's metadata that just helps serve a purpose, like for helping to create views or identifying other pieces attached to that information, it can be very useful to be able to see that properties metadata in Word. Now, again, in Office 2010 and I think in Office 2013, for those of you who may have been using those, you used to have the document properties ribbon, and it used to come right across the top. When you opened a document out of SharePoint, it would actually open this properties bar and you'd be able to see that there was metadata that you could complete. Just recently, that's actually made a bit of a comeback, and it's now back in Word, and easy, obviously easy to use and easy to add, and that is by coming up to View. Now, the SharePoint Properties piece in the ribbon is here on the right-hand side, and when you take a document out of SharePoint and click on those properties, you'll actually be able to find some information. So let's just do that. I'm going to take this document here. I'm going to open it in my application. And here it'll come up. It's just gone off on the other side. Let me just bring that up here for you. There we are. By clicking on View and clicking on Properties, the Properties panel comes up on the right hand side. You can see it's come out of SharePoint because this is a document that I have brought out of SharePoint, and it's giving me the 4 pieces of metadata that are attached to this document library where I've opened it from. So I've got the title, which is SharePoint Site Owner's Course Manual, the content, it's a manual, what software is it, and this one it says all, and the supplier. So this is our training manual that we put together for someone who did some training with us. I can actually come in and modify this metadata here. I'm going to say that this is for the modern experience, for instance. I can click on this and click on it as collateral if I like. In this case I won't, I'll go back and make it a manual because that's what it is. But this is the metadata that is embedded in the SharePoint library that this document resides in. So much easier to update the properties and the metadata now with this property panel. As I said, this is relatively new. It's come in the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 weeks. It's made its appearance again, and I'm very thankful for it because it really is good for putting in some of the metadata properties for a document, and very, very easily. Again, enabling people to collaborate, work in place using SharePoint and having the ability to add metadata. Because as most of you will know, if people are saving or uploading content into SharePoint, more often than not, they're not paying any attention to what metadata is there. So you can put it, because it's, it might be something they're not used to, something they haven't ever seen create some value. Or for those of us who love metadata and know how much more value it'll be, being able to do it from Word makes it so much easier than having to complete it in SharePoint once we've actually gone in and saved it. So it's really quite powerful. I'm very happy that it's there. Now, PowerPoint and Excel and Word, they have an old way of doing it. I say old, I've got my little inverted comma fingers around that word. There was another way of being able to do these properties before, but a lot of people actually probably didn't realize it was there. I'm just going to close this panel for a moment and I'll show it to you in Word. It's in the exact same place in Excel and in PowerPoint, and that is by coming up here and clicking on File. So if you look up at my ribbon on the far left hand side, click on the word File next to Home, and you have an area there that says Info. Now when I click on Info, I now can actually see these are the properties that I saw in that panel. It's in the exact same place, as I said, for PowerPoint and for Word. If I just click on Show All Properties, here you can see some of my, the supplier was Miktysh, the content was manual, and the software version that I added, which was modern. There are a couple of other, if you have a look here, there are some other metadata properties that you could add if you had elected to have them turned on in your library. So this is carried from some other documents where I've saved before. So you can actually, as you can see, there's a whole lot of other categories and subjects, things that you can actually put in here. Same sort of information, just in a different location and in a slightly different format. So as I said, same place in Excel, same place in PowerPoint, clicking on File, clicking on Info, and then here clicking on show all properties, and it will show all of the information. Okay, we'll be back in here a little bit later to show you one of the other cool features that Word and Excel and PowerPoint have when you're handling your document as well. So we'll be back in here a little bit later on. I'm just going to run you through some of the other really cool features that we have here, which is compare. And the other one we also have is side-by-side scrolling to compare. So how you could use this, we'll just do the compare for a moment. If you've been working on a document, let's say you put a document in and you've been working on it for 2 or 3 weeks, and you've got to a level of comfort and you just go, right, this looks like the document is ready to go. But you want to be able to compare it to perhaps a document that you'd worked on, a version, for instance, that you'd worked on previously of the document, to see what the changes were. And this is really good if you're working with a lot of people collaborating on a document and you may have a couple of versions. You want to be able to compare the documents backwards and forwards without having to, save all of them out and do it manually. Up in the ribbon here under review, you have compare. If I click drop down compare, you can actually see the different ways you can compare things. You can compare a major version, so if a document has been made major, so major and minor versions in SharePoint. You can have a look at the last version of the document. You can compare it with a specific version. And then this compare here is 2 versions of a document. So that's a lot of the legal people might be really keen to have seen this if they didn't know it was there before. And the other one you have is combine. So you can combine revisions from multiple authors and pull them all into one document. All right. What we're going to do for this example is we're going to compare it to a specific version. And I normally use the example of you work on a document. On Friday you go on holiday. You're away for 4 weeks. Lucky you. Not sure. Lovely place to be going at this time. You can come back in week 5 and compare the version that's on the server now with the version you worked on before you left. So that is specific version. So if I just click on that, you can have a look. Here you will see all the modifications. So this document's got 66 versions. And if we scroll all the way down, we might go down to this one and say compare. So let's pretend this was the one you worked on before you left. It starts comparing the different versions. It gives you a whole new document, so you don't have to worry that you're interfering with the last thing that was worked on, for instance. And you can come scrolling through here and it will highlight them. So here you can see the date changed, the table of contents changed because some new content may have been added, but it highlights it to you very, very easily. And what you, obviously table of contents, what may have changed when you were gone. So we've got some images that were added, some changes to the footer. So there's not a lot of changes to this document, but as you can see, it highlights it quite clearly. So here you can see it's nice and pink because what changed was, say, human resources instead of HR site. So some simple things to be able to compare. But what you also have the ability to do in Word is up in the ribbon here, if you click on View, you can actually click View Side by Side. So if I click on View Side by Side, I can go and find another document and compare it to this one. And if I click on that one, and I will just take this all the way up to the top here. There we go with my view. And I've now got the 2 documents side by side, and I would now be able to scroll down through the document to be able to compare them to each other, which is fantastic. I just want to see if I've got this turned on. I have. There we go. Up in here, you've got an option to do what they call synchronous scrolling. So it scrolls the documents together, the same page. So you can compare them side by side, which is really fantastic. Now you may have known about that already. If you did, that's great. If you didn't, it's just another way of being able to compare 2 documents very easily, or the side-by-side view to be able to scroll through to as well. This is available in PowerPoint, so you can do this in PowerPoint, comparing PowerPoint presentations in the same area. You'll be able to do it, but in Excel it isn't. So there is not an Excel feature at all. All right, I'm going to show you one of the features that I found recently. Now, I'm happy to say that I never knew how much I didn't know I would love a feature until I found this one. And it's the ability to add content from other files. Now, normally you could cut and paste and put information into an existing document, etc. But this is absolutely fantastic. If you have a document that's already got some tables and things in it, you want to pull those tables in and put them in your existing document, this is a fantastic feature. And the other one that's also really good for is adding slides to a PowerPoint deck. Now that is the one that I've used quite a bit, and I will open a PowerPoint slide and show you that one shortly. But in Word, for instance, if I just come down to the end of my document, up here, I'm wanting to add some information from a PowerPoint slide deck into Word. So I may have a key slide that's got some things in it. Right? To do that, I click up here on Insert, and here it says Add from Files. So as you can see, it says reuse parts of the documents that are already within your organization. This is all about not recreating anything. We always want to be able to work with the information that's already there. So this is fantastic. If I click Insert from File, as you can see here, I've got my virtual event. I've got some course manuals from SharePoint that I already had. I have a couple of other things that I've worked on, as you can see. If I scroll all the way down, I'm just going to use some of these. So this is a PowerPoint slide that I had earlier. I'm going to click on choosing the content, and let's pretend it was a valuable slide. Let's say it had some awesome things in it and I want to insert it. It inserts it as created in PowerPoint into Word for me. They're exactly like that. I haven't had to recreate it. I haven't had to go into PowerPoint and try and get it out. I haven't had to try and do any of those things. I can insert from files straight away. I can come up here. I just want to see if I've got a nice Word document, for instance. If I go back, that I might have some cool information in. See, again, I've done a lot of this with PowerPoint. Let's go up to our Word document, shall we? Go to choosing my content. And let's say I had a table, this here, I can insert it. Selecting it, see it says insert table. It has inserted the table as it stands from Word in another document into my existing document. Now, I can't tell you how much I love this feature. I have used it so much since I found it. Benefit of putting an existing table in, it holds the formatting of the table in your document. So you can see, you can edit it. It's a fully editable document, but you've used it from a document you've already created. Absolutely fantastic. Now in PowerPoint, if I open a PowerPoint for you, just go into a blank presentation for a moment, you will find that under Home and Reuse Slides over here, so Home, Reuse Slides, okay? If I click on Reuse Slides, you'll see it gives me the same look and feel as I've already had before. Insert. Really, really easy to do. If you had an existing presentation, you could pull this infographic in using the formatting from here, and it will pick up the formatting of your new environment as well. In Excel, it's under Data and Get Data, and the Get Data area allows you to access all sorts of different sources as well. So that's a really fantastic feature too. Okay, last but not least, when you send a document, often a lot of people will PDF a document in order to send it on, and the PDF ability a lot of the time enables you to strip personal information or other information that may be attached to a document. And a lot of the time people think that's probably your best bet. It's the easiest way to strip all the information out is by putting it in as a PDF. So I'm just going to show you, before you send a document or even think you have to PDF a document, show you that Office, and this is in Excel and in PowerPoint, has a really cool feature called Document Inspector. If you come into File, so up the top, here's my document. I'm going to have a look. To me, I think there's nothing in here that's really, I can send this, I'm okay. To be sure, if you need to make sure you've stripped all the personal information out of that, you can click on File. You can select Info. And under Check for Issues, when you drop this down, you have the option to inspect the document. So if I click on that, it shows me all of the things that it will look for. Now, one of the biggest things for this is comments, revisions, and versions. So if you have track changes turned on a document, and then you turn off track changes and you send it to someone else, they can turn track changes back on and everything appears again. So you can start looking at removing comments, the revisions, and any other versions that that people be able to come in and have a look at version history. Takes it all out. Document properties and personal information. If I just move that across, personal information, who was the author? Those sorts of things as well. Other personal information bits that might be in there. All of the things that you didn't know that you might want to be able to inspect are actually in here. By clicking on Inspect, it'll come up and say, The following personal information is there, document properties and author. I can remove them all. So document properties will also remove any of the custom metadata you have, which might be important if you're sending this document externally or within your department to somewhere else that doesn't need to know all those different properties that you may have. It just shows you, this one hasn't got a lot of information, so that's great. I can click remove all. It will remove them all and allow you to move on with your document. But what I wanted to show you as well in here is one of the things in this day and age is you get sent a link to a document and you don't know where the document is. So you get a link in an email or in a Teams chat, wherever it might be, and you click on the document link, it opens the document and you're working. You actually may want to know where the document is. And that's I know I tend to like to know where I've saved it so that I've got confidence that it's gone in the right spot as well. Again, in info, all the way down the bottom here, if you have a look, it says show all properties, but the one above it says open file location. If I hover over that open file location, in this case, it's showing me that my document here is on my personal drive. But if it was in SharePoint, and this one is in SharePoint, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this one and I'm going to open it out of SharePoint as well. I had two documents working to show you that it'll show you no matter where you work, personal drive, for instance, like your OneDrive, or in a normal file location, perhaps like a file share versus SharePoint, it will show you where the document is, right? So if I just close that for a second, pull this up, here it is. Welcome to the virtual event. I have that in here as well. I'm going to open it in my application just to show you, it'll show you where this content is residing. Here we are, exactly the same. Beautiful. Click on File, click on Info, and if I go to File Location and hover, it now shows me that it's in SharePoint. It's in a site called Training Hub. It's in the Shared Documents Library. It's in the SharePoint Training. Now in this case, this is a folder. That is where it is. If I click on Open File Location, it will open it in the location where it resides. So it's really, really good. The other thing to also show you is you can copy the path up here, and you can also open the file location from up here. That one, these ones, the open file location, all of those up the top are relatively also last couple of months or so have appeared. But being able to copy the path, so you can also send it the actual URL onto someone if you needed to as well. So it's pretty powerful, some of the things that Office has in order to help you work with your content, work with it in place, etc. The last thing I'll show you, and it's a really quick one, most of you will probably know it's there, but it's the snipping tool. It's now called Snip and Sketch. Now, a lot of you, if you didn't know that it was there, don't worry. A lot of people go Control Print Screen in order to take, let's say, a snapshot of something on the screen. You go Control Print Screen, you put it in Word or PowerPoint, you then, try and edit it so that it makes some sense. The snipping tool is fantastic. You can find it by clicking, if you look down the bottom of your desktop, you'll have a little search icon, like a little magnifying glass. If you type in snip there, it'll actually find it for you. I already have mine here. It's already on my desktop, so if I click on it, it comes up with this little snip and sketch. This is just a fun thing to show you. If you know about it, good on you, that's great. The best thing about this is the ability to delay it. You can delay in 3 seconds or in 10 seconds. And why that's really good is sometimes you want to show someone a menu of how to do something, how to get somewhere, or how to save anything. So you can snip in 10 seconds. If I snip now, this is why I like it the best. I can highlight this piece of information here. I've got my highlighter. I can go like this. I can draw a big arrow to whatever it is I'm wanting to show someone. Fantastic. And I can save it. Not only can I save it as into SharePoint, but it now also becomes, if it is a requirement, a record. If you needed to identify something, it gets saved into SharePoint, and for information management purposes, you can actually keep it and manage it as a piece of information if that's relevant or not. So yeah, it's one of the quick little things I thought I'd show you at the end. If you didn't know where it was, you're just in your little magnifying glass. In search, if you type snip, it'll come up with snip and sketch, and it looks like a little pair of scissors. I have mine pinned to my taskbar. I use it all the time. So I hope that some of these things are new things to those of you who did tune in today. I'll be available shortly after this to answer any other questions or give you any other use cases if you want. But thank you very much for listening, and I hope something here was brand new to some of you, because It certainly was to me, especially the one that I can't tell you enough about that I love, which was add from files. So have a great day, and thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Thank you very much for that, Michelle. That was really informative. Well, we'll get the very last Q&A of the event started. So once again, just click that Q&A tab in the top right-hand menu, and Michelle will get back to you. So I guess I'll just turn my webcam off now while we run the rest of this Q&A.